Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Waking up for this beautiful early Tuesday morning, no, Monday morning over here in Helsinki, Finland. And as always, want to be wishing you well, want to be wishing you the best as we start this new week, the new opportunities, of course. And we got plenty to talk about as Bitcoin's been moving quite volatile over the past, the past couple of weeks. But my God, opportunities everywhere. And with that said, as always, wish you the best. Let's waste no more time getting live scene right here, right now, as we initiate the teleportation. And there it is, Bitcoin in all of its glory, ending this massive run in a culmination of almost 8 billion. Sorry, how much volume was done on this dildo yesterday? I believe on BitMexico we show about, yes, 8.25 billion done yesterday on a Sunday of all days, which is historically speaking pretty unprecedented. Usually on weekends volume is lower and overall volatility is lower as well. And this weekend, certainly the exception to the rule, as Bitcoin taking a massive leg up on Saturday and Sunday, kind of giving a little bit of these gains back. But looking at this, we do see massive volume on this, on what would be considered a, what do you want to call this? A shooting star dildo? Do you want to call it a doji dildo? Do you want to call it a, whatever you want to call it? I don't really care what you call it, but typically a signal of indecision, perhaps even reversal. Now, that's what it looks like on first glance on a higher time frame like the daily. And while we are here on the daily, I do want to denote that all major moving averages, well, as long as we're above all major moving averages, it's hard to be bearish off something like that. In fact, it's quite bullish. It's quite literally the opposite. But of course, we will be seeing, more importantly, this golden cross, the green 55 exponential and the purple 200 exponential moving average, which have been gaining ever so increasingly more far apart, which does signal that the trend is strengthening to the upside. We're going to see this green 55 exponential now close likely within the next 24 hours on the next daily dildo close at 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Is going to close above and cross over this blue 377 exponential moving average. So the thing is now we're in kind of a decision phase, and the longer that Bitcoin can remain above, this let's call it like 6,500 perhaps, and allow these moving averages to migrate above, so that we have all of the lower periods resting above the higher periods. That just allows Bitcoin to really set itself in stone, and actually really does start to, from a technical analysis standpoint, allow things to, well, quite literally change around the market cycle. So with that said, basically what I'm saying is the more time that Bitcoin spends above this area, the more and more time that all these moving averages have to catch up, and slowly but surely they turn around bullish, which we're going to get another confirmation later tonight, barring any, assuming that we don't get any sort of like massive sell-off bringing us back below like 5,500, which I think is quite unlikely right here. In fact, going off of our higher time frames, because we did close a weekly yesterday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I do want to talk about this. This has been one of the bigger things for getting the overall trending moves that we've been speaking about, and that is the weekly Challenger band. So you can see that we actually closed a massively girthy weekly dildo above the top Challenger band last week, confirmed, and now the top Challenger band is going to be coming in currently at about 6650-ish area. So anywhere between about 6,600 and 6,650, I would be looking for support if Bitcoin actually does sell off, and on first pass, I would be looking for a pretty damn sizable bounce. So with that said, we also do see weekly Stokes actually hinting at across the downside. So I do believe that while Bitcoin, on the lower time frames probably does give another run at the prior high, somewhere around there, I do believe that we're going to go into a little bit of a consolidation here, and the real key of this next phase of the market is going to be to see, do we basically hold essentially the mid to low 6,000s? As long as Bitcoin holds that, if Bitcoin can hold that, then this thing will actually start to look a really significant, significantly like a bottom over here, from like a higher time frame perspective. Of course, all time frames below monthly are bullish right now, but it's the higher time frames that rule the world, and the monthly is still a little bit indecisive. So everything slowly but surely turns around itself. Just like we didn't start a bear market in the span of like one day or even 1 month, we don't start a bull market, in the same way either. Although, to be fair, with the way that Bitcoin's been going recently, it's been about 3 months now, or three to 4 months of actual good moves and good action that certainly can lead on into that. But again, it takes time, right? Everything takes time in this market, and that is why I never really feel the need or urge to FOMO, because these levels are pretty damn set in stone for what actually changes the picture. Anyways, while we are here on the weekly, I do want to talk about the moving averages really quick, as we do see the green 55 and the cyan 89 exponential moving average kissing each other, and they will cross the upside, giving us a bullish cross, assuming that Bitcoin does not, essentially sell off back below about 6,000 during this next week. So this week's worth of price action, pretty damn important, as again, we are seeing not only that kind of populate itself, but we are seeing the red 10 simple and the yellow 21 exponential moving average getting more and more divergence away from each other, which is once again just another lower period trading above a higher period, telling us that that the overall trend is strengthening to the upside. So, again, just the more and more time that Bitcoin's allowed to go at the very least, even sideways here, even if it goes into a sideways consolidation, these moving averages catch up. We get lower periods trading above higher periods, and we're probably going to confirm another couple. Perhaps this week and certainly by next week, as long as we stay above 6,000 or so. So here's the thing, is that this is going to really start to throw a spanner in the works for the long-term, the long-term trend. Let me just put on the 50 simple moving average right here, represented by this red moving average as well, which historically speaking, these moving averages have actually had some damn good confluences in dictating the overall pace for Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin were to actually sell off, I would be looking for this whole area right here to actually provide a massive impetus for support. And in fact, if we do go and kind of back tested throughout the annals of history and good old Bitcoin, we do see that this red 50 simple moving average, everyone was talking about it, not too long ago, because they were saying, well, we were brushing up against it in the mid 5,000s, right? And it was supposed to send Bitcoin back down to its prior lows. Well, actually, this setup over here very significantly different than what we saw in this area right over here, where Bitcoin was grinding it out. We saw four weekly closes right around this area. That to me is very bullish when you see a consolidation like that at a major moving average. Well, over here we had a different setup where Bitcoin, just brushed up against it once and then immediate sell-off essentially. Well, you can see over here that when Bitcoin actually did take out the red 50 simple moving average, that's when our bull market did begin. Now, am I suggesting that just because Bitcoin's taken that out, we're in bull market territory? No, I'm not saying that, but it is, it's one of the ingredients, right? It's one of the ingredients. So again, things slowly but surely changing around as they should. And of course, it's not going to be perfect at timing things. It's not the point of it. It's about getting the momentum, not necessarily the full-on move. That's for moon boys. That's for people who don't want to trade. Maybe they don't know how to trade. Maybe they don't want to trade, and that's fair enough. Everyone has different perspectives. Absolutely. I'm just sharing mine as a trader, someone who does this essentially as a living. Anyways, we do see not only that, but when Bitcoin did take out the 50 simple over here, we do see the green 55 and the cyan 89 exponential crossing the upside and having the bullish cross right over here. So funnily enough, we are actually seeing kind of a similar thing over here. We took out the 50 the 50 simple, the red moving average, and now we're about to see the exponential start to cross the upside as well, happening a lot faster over here. So again, things are actually starting to switch around from a higher time frame perspective, and that also does mean that if Bitcoin were to come back down in this region, this would be considered a massive base, and this is coming in right around 5,400. We'll call it 5,400. Essentially, I would say that as long as Bitcoin's above that area, you could probably run with the assumption that it's more bullish than bearish. However, that also means that if Bitcoin breaks 5,400, that's when we can start to talk about, coming back down to 4,200, back down to low 4,000s, maybe even 3,000, down to 3,700, down, test the 200 simple and 200 exponential. But right now, you can see that we're nowhere near that. In fact, what we're having right now is we're having, some pretty damn good stuff. We're seeing increasing volume to the upside here, which is exactly what you want to see from a structural standpoint. With regards to technical analysis and actually change around market cycles. So this is starting to, look a lot better. Does that mean that I just immediately buy in right here, right now? No, of course not. But let's now go down to the lower time frames. And I should probably follow up on the trades that I took yesterday. So yesterday, when I was on video yesterday, I took a trade. What did I do? I shorted like 73.50 and 74.50, something like that. Let's see if I actually have it on over here. There we go. Yep. So there's my session RPL. Yep. Okay, we can see that. Okay, great. Basically shorted like 73.50, 7,400, and then closed at around 7,000. Just kind of following up on that on video yesterday when I actually took the trade. It turned into a scalp first and foremost, and then actually retook the same exact trade later on with a little bit of a better price. I think I got to short around 74, like 60, 74, 80, something like that, and then closed at like 7,000-ish area. So overall, I just wanted to follow up on that. And then go back into the charts. Anyways, as always, I think it's very important to verify yourself, and that's why I show, my streamer account. Yes, it's not my main account, but it is, it is real money. So at the end of the day, that position, while it didn't work out for me it actually did work out for me at first because it, was a scalp, but I wasn't getting like the actual, what I was looking for was this move here, right? This whole move from about 75 down to 7,000-ish area. That, I had to redo it at the, after the video, which, sometimes things are sloppy like that, and that's completely fine. Just have to, be able to dance around these positions as usually during the last time, the last stretch of an actual, major run like this, which make no mistake, this is a fucking major run. You never know how fucking intense those things get. So it always goes higher than you think it does. That's the only rule that I really have for it. It's always higher. Just like the other thing is always lower than you think it is. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know. Well, anyways, looking at our lower time frames here, it does look to me like Bitcoin actually wants to pop back up. I think that we are getting reaccumulated on the lower time frames. Looking at this right over here, people are going to be calling this a head and shoulders. It is not a head and shoulders. We did have a head and shoulders yesterday, actually on a very low time frame. We spoke about this in the program Discord. Right over here, left shoulder, double head, right shoulder, and then down to our 67.50-ish target. Well, actually got front ran about $21, but that's okay. And then right now, to me, this looks like we're getting reaccumulated. So I think that people are calling this head and shoulders are ultimately going to be wrong. The only way that I get bearish on this for a move further down is if we break about this level right over here, 6,900. If 6,900 breaks, then yes, we likely will move down to about 6,600 to 6,650. Essentially the support that we saw in the weekly Bollinger Bands. That's where we'll be looking towards. And let me just, this was a measure move off that. Let me just adjust this down for our next area. Yeah, it's going to be somewhere right around here, right around about 6,650 to 6,680-ish area. You know what? I'll actually even adjust this one down here as well. And there we go. So this is going to be my range. If and when Bitcoin does get down around here, I would be looking for a pretty sizable bounce. And from a structural standpoint, Bitcoin is completely fine as long as it maintains above this area. In fact, the first interpretation of it would certainly be bullish. Anyways, okay, cool. So let's go back over to the 1 hour. What's the 1 hour saying right here? We got hourly Stokes headed up, holding the 21 exponential moving average. Again, not nothing too crazy here, but does to me just looks like we're getting reaccumulated. And probably sometime, maybe later today or tomorrow, something like that. We do test around, well, very likely 7,200, but probably a 7,400, I'd say. Going on top of that, let's go to a 4 hour dildo time frame. Yeah, 4 hour looks actually a little bit better. We do see 4 hour Stokes actually still headed down while price action's been essentially flat. To me, again, it's the same sort of thing that we've been seeing the whole way through. And if I take off all my drawing tools, you'll be able to really see it well. Look at all these wicks. They're always rising. They're always fucking rising. So a lot of the time we see this where we have a very nasty dump, a very violent and aggressive dump, and then it gets no follow through. It gets absolutely zero follow through, and then and then the upside takes over once again. So that is one of the things that we're kind of dealing with right now. And so while I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't feel confident saying that I think that we're going to shoot from here to new highs on this run. I do think that we are going to rally off this area and pop back in maybe around like 7,400-ish area. We'll and then we'll kind of take it from there. Looking at our 4 hour RSI, not really too much to be said about it. I do think that we want to pop back up and test the exponential on it, and that's kind of confluent with taking the run a little bit higher here. So very low time frames, probably looking for a pop up. Medium time frames, pretty much neutral. Higher time frames, probably pull back down to 6,600-ish sometime this week, I'd say. Going over here to our 8 hour chart, what do we have here? Yeah, just holding above all major moving averages. I mean, it looks fine to me actually. 8 hour Stokes, okay. What about 12 hour? 12 hour, a little bit more lackluster. We do have a nice long-legged doji dildo here. Have we lost the exponential? No, we have not. 12 hour Stokes are down, which have been damn good at calling moves, so that would be, certainly on the more bearish side. We don't really have any sort of major bearish divergence or anything like that. We don't have any bearish divergence present. This over here is too far away to really be comparative to what we're doing over here, especially if you're using a 14 period. It's kind of like, it's a different fucking universe, really. So overall, we do see that the red 10 simple on the 12 hour dildo time frame is going to be coming in right around that 6,600-ish level. I do like the confluences there. We do see 12 hour RSI, just kind of struggling its way through, but not really too much to make of it just yet. We don't really have divergence just yet. We do have, I would be cognizant of the exponential on this. If we do lose that, then yes, I do think that we come back down and probably base around, at the very least, a red 10 simple at 66 with a chance to hit the 21 at about 6,300-ish, we'll call it. So here's a big thing, and what I really want to relate it to now is the CMEs and what they kind of did on Friday and coming into this week. So last Friday, CMEs closed here. They closed at 62.90. You do see a wick up to about 64.30, and overall, my point is that hey, CMEs basically opened up last night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with a major, massive gap up. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the next time that CME comes down all the way to the top of this wick, or just anywhere around it really, which is currently about 64.30, I would be looking for a massive bounce there. And again, a lot of people have been reaching out to me about, gaps and all that kind of stuff. And here's the thing, man, you have to understand with gaps, you don't tell price action what to do. This is very, very specific. You don't tell price action what to do. You can only respond to price action once it comes back and fills a gap. So what I think a lot of people think gaps are is like, okay, so we open up high, so we definitely have to come back down the minute that it opens up, and then we gotta buy it. It's like, no, because then people think that like you just sell it immediately right up here. Well, how's that working out for you right now? Probably not. You have a nice green dildo up your bunghole and it's coming out your mouth right now. You can't even fucking breathe. So that's the problem with it, is that it's too much crystal ball type thinking, and that's really the bane of any sort of technical analysis. It's not about using the crystal ball. It's about responding to price action. So the right response here is that, hey, if price action comes back down to fill this gap, then I'll be a buyer. But I don't just sell blindly up here saying that it has to come back down here. Yes, just about every gap in the history of the stock market has been filled, but the timing of that is highly variable. In some cases, can be same day. In some, the next day. In some cases, a few weeks. In some cases, years. It's certainly happened, but typically, yes, they do get filled. I can't speak the same for OTC bullshit, but I can speak for traditional markets there. And and typically speaking, the rule of thumb is the bigger your gap is, the longer it's likely to take for it to get filled. And this is a pretty fucking big one here. I mean, this is more than 10%, right? Let's just kind of confirm this. Almost 10%. Almost 10%. If we go body to body, it's probably is 10%. Yeah, it's about 13%. So again, these sorts of things need to really be taken into consideration, because I feel like a lot of people might have the wrong idea on something like that. And of course, it's not me. It's not my job to be the arbiter of anything like that. I'm just sharing, what I've learned and what's worked for me, and that's what works for me. Is not fucking blindly taking that trade just because gap this, gap that's going to become a fucking meme is what it's going to become, which is just awful, because it's really it's actually quite useful. Anyways, Bitcoin coming down right now. It looks like 70.37, coming down a little bit more aggressively. But again, I'm just gonna, I'm basically giving it time right here. For full disclosure, I have no real open deltas. I do have open positions, as you can see. I'm basically short 80,000, and then long 80,000 right over here. But that's all locked in and accounted for as far as I'm concerned. I'm just kind of sitting back and waiting for the next obvious trade. So the next obvious trade for me is going to likely be a buyer at like 66 to 6650, or maybe if Bitcoin pops back up to 7,400, I might try a little bit of a sell there. But if it does pop back around that area, that does imply that this is reaccumulation here. So not necessarily the smartest thing to be fading a trade like that. But again, I'd rather just wait and let price action, unravel itself a little bit more. So yesterday, you saw that, I was a little bit more confident, felt strongly about some things, likely to happen. That's why I was taking trades on video. Well, today, not so much. And I don't really feel any sort of need to have a trade in this area when we're quite literally in the middle of even the short-term range as far as what I see. I mean, the short-term range being something like this, something like this. And we're literally right in the middle of it. I mean, that's a definition of a no trade zone to me. I wouldn't even take a trade off this, off the smaller zone to begin with. The bigger zone, yes, very, very likely that I do take a trade, whether it's 7,400 or 6650 to the downside. That's a different story. But for right now, we're just kind of trending in no man's land currently. Okay, so here's the next big thing. And one of the big things that I was speaking about yesterday, and that is a 3-day dildo time frame, right? And I was looking at the 3-day dildo 200 simple moving average, this white moving average here, to kind of denote, are we going to be taking another leg up on this current rally? And as you can see, we actually did end below it, as we spoke about what was likely yesterday. Well, today we're going to, we are testing it again. We've actually tested a little bit above it again, as you can see. But overall, the next big piece of the puzzle is going to be where this next 3-day dildo closes, because this one right over here, while it did reject the 200 simple, it's not necessarily like a rejection dildo in the truest sense of the form. I mean, to this, this right over here is more or less continuation of what we've been doing for the past couple months. That's all it's been doing. But with the way that we're going to treat this next 3-day dildo, that's going to be the one that's going to fully confirm or deny a rejection of this moving average. So if we end above, that's going to open up the the floodgates for a move much higher. I'd say 8,000 becomes a strong likelihood at that point, 8,000 to 8,200, 8,400, whatever it might be. By the same token, if we do end below the 200 simple on the next tick, then I'd say now we're going to start to really initiate, quite likely a very strong pullback, perhaps even testing all the way down to that critical base at the 5,400 level, as we spoke about. So again, that's going to be the next sort of like higher time frame trade that I take. I would have actually really preferred it to have ended above yesterday, because that would have really, it would have made things easier. I would have been looking for continuation. The next play is simple, just buy the 200 simple, and or, no pun intended, and then target and move about $1,000 higher. So again, it's a little bit unfortunate that didn't happen, but hey, that's why I don't trade my opinion. I trade technical analysis, and what we're looking at right now, it's still a little bit more indecision than anything. Looking at the 3-day dollar time frame, we do see 3-day dollar Stokes still actually up right now, but they're gonna turn down if we close this next 3-day dollar below this critical 7,000 level as well. So that's the other big thing, is that, hey, if Bitcoin does close below this 200 simple for a second consecutive time, well, not consecutive, I mean, you know what I mean, it's been closing below it for like the last fucking half year, right? But if it closes, if it gets rejected right here once again on this next tick, which won't be, stopping until the 16th of May, then what's going to happen there is we're going to see the 3-day dollar Stokes cross down, and we're going to also consider this as a rejection, and that's going to likely, that's just going to build up the case more so for a pullback deeper into the lower 6,000s. Anyways, here's the big news, and here's what I really want to focus on, because while I've been speaking about all of this, all these sorts of potential scenarios and what to look for, this is the one that kind of makes me think that This is the one that makes me a little bit more excited, because the trade can evolve into a massive, massive, massive fucking winner. And what I'm going to talk about now is down around here. This is the jewel. This is the 3-day jewel, which we've been tracking for a while. And you can see that we got into the red zone for a while, about a month ago. In middle of April, where the light blue oscillator got into the critical zone. We flashed red in the background, and then we got a negative slope for a little bit. But you can see, while we actually did have a decent reaction, I mean, we had about a 12% downturn right here, right? About a 12% downturn. It did eventually get picked up and walked up, significantly higher right now. Well, going back and kind of back testing these turn downs, these signals, I mean, if we go over here to this signal, obviously this is about a 69% drop down in the span of a few weeks. This one right over here, another 40% drop down right over there. This one right over here, another 31% drop down. This guy right over here, another 35% drop down. This guy right over here, another 35% drop down. You get the idea. They're pretty fucking intense. So the thing is that on this example, where we only got very shallow into the more critical zone, that accounted for a relatively shallow drop. On the other ones, these signals are getting like really deep into this area, towards like an 88 or a 90 mark. So if you have access to the jewel, make sure that you're keeping tabs on this, because I think this is going to be the next massive trade for Bitcoin, actually. And we only really have one other example that kind of lines up with what we did right over here, and that is actually this guy right over here, where we only get very shallow into the critical zone, but we do get the red in the background, and we do get a negative slope on the light blue oscillator. Well, what happened on price action right over there? Well, you can see that we had about an 11% drop down, 12% drop down, something like that. So very similar to what we did in the current scheme. But after that, Bitcoin got walked up. Look at this. It caught wind of the pink movement, or sorry, the pink oscillator here, and gets walked up. And that's where it gets into a very critical zone and sets itself up for a fucking dramatic, super dramatic, almost, what is this, 38% drop down. So what I'm looking at over here now is we kind of have a similar setup, right? Where Bitcoin does the first, one off here, and then gets essentially walked up by the pink right over here in the current trajectory. And now we are once again flashing red. But here's the thing. In order for this to have a very nasty signal, historically speaking, we need to get this light blue into the, into the more critical zone here, around the 88 to 90-ish marker. That's where it's consistently, really, 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 really violent. So with that said, that would actually imply that the light blue has, probably another few ticks, 2 to 3 ticks of moving to the upside, which that would imply that price action goes to the upside. And that would imply that, 3 ticks on a 3-day time frame, that's going to be a week and a half worth of price action. That's 9 days. That's a lot of damage that can potentially be done between now and a week and a half from now, where Bitcoin's going to generally be, grinding this area out most likely. So again, if we do see a setup like that, and again, and talking about the actual response to price action, not insinuated that it's going to do something, but the response to an indicator signal, that's the next big thing that I'm watching out for. And we should get more insight to that on the next 3-day dildo tick, because I want to see the light blue get, higher than what we saw right over here. And that's going to really start to, look a lot more like we're setting up for that signal. So again, this is a critical juncture in the market, because we can very easily move up another. I mean, shit. If you're just thinking about those numbers, it could be another like $1,000 over to 8,000, 8,200. It could very easily be that before this signal fully matures and actually says, "Hey, hit the fucking red button, you pussy," and we drop down, 30 to 40%. Which, let's just kind of take some trajectories, because again, remember, this is not fully set in stone just yet. But if we were to just make some assumptions here, and this is very bad technical analysis, to be very clear, very bad technical analysis. What I'm doing, don't do what I'm doing. This is bad. But let's just say maybe we got to 8,000, and then we had we took the mean of those drop downs at around 35%. Well, a 35% drop down from 8,000 would put us where? Right around that critical 5,350 to 5,400-ish base that we spoke about at the beginning of this video. Remember where the weekly 50 simple and the 55 exponential and 89 exponential are all kind of hanging around, and actually the 21 right now too, for both the monthly and the weekly. So a lot of things really meeting up with each other in that area, and just kind of eyeballing this thing out, it does look like it's certainly possible. I mean, let's also do something like this. What if we were to take a Fibonacci, going all the way from our current low and saying that 8,000 area is going to be a high? Well, look at where the 618 is, right around that 5150-ish level. Look at where the 0.5 is. Well, let's actually get this a little bit more right, huh? Let's do this actually right. We could do it. We could do it like this. There we go. All right, get them on those trend lines. There we go. Beautiful. Yeah, so you see that the 618 and the 0.5 match up pretty damn well with those critical areas. And in fact, all of these fibs are pretty much critical areas right here. Not only that, but if we were actually do some a little bit more suggestive for what Bitcoin's currently done, we could do this, where we've taken this low right over here and this high right over here. And look at how these match up. We have the 618 at 5,000 even. We have the 0.5 at 5,500. So that would be, kind of account for the 5,400-ish area, as they're going to likely migrate up a little bit. Then we have the 236 at 6,600. Well, that sounds like weekly support on the Challenger bands. We have the 382 at about 6,000. Nice psychological number, although not huge in my opinion. But overall, you can see that these areas do match up. So no matter which way you cut it, there are some great confluences with these two from a higher degree of perspective, and that is what I really wanted to show here. Not only that, but remember this trend line that we spoke about yesterday. This trend line that we spoke about yesterday, this dotted trend line, right, that goes all the way back from the genesis of Bitcoin. Well, that's actually currently meeting up with where price action currently is. And on my Bitstamp chart, it's not super exact. I have to go to my BLX chart to get super exact on this one. But you can see over here on BLX index, we actually, and you can see that it actually didn't really get above it. It basically got just there. This trend line, very important from a historical standpoint. It's one of the parabolic support trend lines for a market cycle. Each and every one of these represents one in Bitcoin's history. I won't go through the full rigmarole here. If you want the full explanation of this whole thing, definitely go check out the video that I uploaded yesterday in the long-term analysis playlist, as that will go through it in much more detail than what I'm about to do right now. Anyways, you do see that not only do we have a rejection off this trend line, but also ending below the 200 simple as well. So if Bitcoin were to pop back up, I would be looking for this trend line to be the impetus for resistance, as we kind of walk our way along here. And that would still suggest that 76 to 7,700 is going to be resistance going up through here. But remember, it does rise relatively rapidly, and just by the end of the month, it will actually have a potential of a little bit above $8,000 as a high. So Bitcoin can easily, kind of shuffle its way through here, but overall, I'm not quite convinced that Bitcoin's going to break this trend line to the upside. If it does break this trend line to the upside, well, Then we have something completely new to consider, but I don't believe that we've seen that in Bitcoin's history. And although 3 times, it's only been twice in Bitcoin's history, so that's not necessarily a trend. 3 times is a trend, not twice. But if that were to happen, then we have something new to consider, is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, go back on over into our spot charts. There we go. And let's put on the good old historical volatility percentile. Shout out to Paul Poor for this one. Whoops, wrong one there. There it is. There's the one that he did. Let me get rid of this one. Get out of there, you shit fuck. There we go. Okay. You do see that the historical volatility percentile is actually ticking up right now, which does suggest that we kind of have hit a little bit of a climax here. And that would be consistent with what we're looking at on actual, just technical analysis as well. I mean, which, volatility analysis certainly is. But looking at this, we have a massive volume climax right over here on, basically a spinning top doji-ish type dildo, which typically is a signal of indecision, perhaps even reversal. So how would this be confirmed? Well, if we actually tick below the low of this current dildo at 67.62, that's where that becomes confirmed. And at that point, I'd be looking for a test all the way back down, likely towards that 6,400-ish level, which is going to meet up with what? Well, that's going to meet up with our gap on the CMEs. So again, putting all these things together, making everything confluent, this is really what I want to focus on right now, because those are going to be the next big trades. The one to the down, the short would imply that we have to move, much further up, and that's going to be dictated by the Joule and also the 3-day 200 simple. And then perhaps a massive bounce for a buy would be predicted. Sorry, not predicted, but predicated by a gap fill down in this region, also kind of confirming our current area as a local high in confluence with the historical volatility percentile, and that would likely align with it with a move back down to about 64-ish, give or take a few bucks, lining up for a major massive bounce. So those are the two big areas from a higher time frame perspective. Taking this back off, or actually let's go down to a lower time frame and see what's going on here. Yeah, it's actually redlining pretty fucking hard on the hourly. So the hourly wants to consolidate for a while, and that's why I don't really have any sort of like major qualms with being flat right now. Just I don't think that we're going to be having a major massive move. I mean, if anything, this says that this was, likely to come down a little bit and fill out this area, but overall consolidation, the name of the game right now. Okay, there is another thing that I wanted to talk about, but I completely forgot already. Oh yeah, that's right. It was the monthly. All right, let's get on off that, and let's go on to the monthly. Monthly over here, we do see monthly Stochs crossing the upside. We do see monthly, closing above the yellow 21 exponential moving average last time. And of course, if you're new here and you haven't heard the sound bit, this fucking annoying sound bit that I repeat every time, but the yellow 21 exponential moving average on the monthly was what I used as a, when I was a market maker on the floor of New York Stock Exchange ARCA to judge if a stock was generally bullish, generally bearish for, over the long period of time. For above it, generally bullish, below it, generally bearish. Well, we took it out to the upside last month in April, confirmed above it, and gotten continuation ever since, up to basically our next kind of local high from a monthly standpoint. And remember, the monthly does dictate the long-term direction, and this area would be just shy of about 7,700. So as long as Bitcoin's below that area from a monthly standpoint, we have still not made a higher high in the monthly. And at some point, we're going to have to set a higher low if Bitcoin is going to get bullish here. So if Bitcoin is going to get bullish, we're going to first see a higher high over about 7,700, and then we're going to at some point, later on in the year, come back down, give everyone a massive scare, and set a higher low. Just as long as it's higher above essentially 3,200, it's okay, So that's kind of what's going on right now. And we do see some monthly indicators starting to turn around. We do see monthly Stochs crossing up to the upside. We do see monthly RSI taking out the exponential. That's a very big deal to me as well. When we saw that happen in 2014, 2015, that actually is the beginning of your bullish momentum in October. Right over here, not bad. So again, a lot of things working together with each other, and that's essentially what I'd be saying right now. So let's go down and check out the other top shitcoins really quick, as I'm curious how they followed through, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean. We do see Mr. Buteral taking a stab towards that $200 number. In fact, a little bit higher than that, but close enough is close enough. Again, target hit on that one, and I'd like to see this area flip to support right around 181, which yesterday it looks like we already kind of tested. Mr. Buteral really setting up in this area, and I do think that it actually does try higher over time, likely towards 218, 220-ish area, somewhere right around here. Let me actually just put in, let's take off, I guess all these are relevant, so I'll just take this one. Yeah, somewhere right around here, and then if that area gets taken out, then we'll talk about, target maybe towards maybe towards like 235. But right now, Mr. Buteau looks like kind of the next in line to get to party around a little bit. And this is really going to be the order of operations, in my opinion, for cryptocurrency. And we're going to see Bitcoin move first, as we basically seen, and then we're going to see all of the alts follow in terms of strength. So the strong get to follow the first, and the weak get to follow the last. So again, keep an eye out for who's acting the best right now, because those are likely to be the biggest winners for the first, and then after that, maybe consider scaling out and checking out some alts. And of course, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And I don't even trade fucking alts, so I'm not even sharing what I do in these sorts of situations. So there you go. But hey, fair enough. Overall, weekly on Mr. Buteau looks fine to me. Looks like it wants continuation. Looks like it's going to try towards that 220-ish number overall. So yeah, lower time frames. I know people are going to call this some sort of a what do you want to call it, like a shooting star dildo, or perhaps just a doji dildo. What the fuck you want to call it? Spinning top dildo. I don't think that this actually stops price. Actually, I think that it does continue on higher. The only way that I'd kind of let go of that belief is if we actually violated 181 on about like a 2-hour or 4-hour dildo. If 181 gets violated, then yes, this baby will come back down to like low 160s. But for right now, I think that's less likely. I think that you're actually getting reaccumulated right here and preparing for a move likely higher. Let's check out Mrs. Litecoin. What's she doing? This beautiful bitch over here. Same sort of thing actually, but she was the first mover out of like everything. It kind of felt like. Same sort of areas as well. You can see this area being about $84. If $84 is violated, I'd be looking for a move back down to about $77.50. But overall, Mrs. Litecoin looks fine to me. If she did come back down to $77.50, probably going to be a pretty nice buy in my opinion. And in fact, yeah, weekly can easily come back down to $77.50 and be completely fine. Overall, weekly wants continuation on the higher time frames towards 112-ish number, I'd say. Mrs. Litecoin daily Stokes turning around, gaining momentum back once again to the upside. Weekly Stokes actually been heading down for the past 4 or 5 weeks, but price action has been flat to up for that time frame as well. So again, once again, I do think that higher time frames are bullish. Lower time frames, yeah, could come back down and tag $77.50, but I think that it gets picked up there and we do try higher. So what would that account for on Mr. Buteau? Maybe a tag back down to 180. Yeah, if it wants to come back down to 180, that's fine, and then carry on. Let's go check out the other top shitcoins. We got Cardano over here. Someone got really mad at me the other day for picking on Cardano. Hey man, I use the term shitcoin as a term of endearment, nothing more, man. I mean, people were like mad because I was apparently talking shit about Cardano. Listen, I'm not talking shit about Cardano like as a fundamental project or anything like that. I'm talking shit about its chart, which is fucking garbage. I mean, this is disgusting chart. It's absolutely dog shit. But with that said, as I said yesterday, I actually do think that it bounces from this area. I do not think that we continue on to the downside from this area right here, right now. I think that we're likely in for a bounce back up to around maybe even 1200. Yeah, weekly can bounce up quite a bit. And still not really change all that much. Weekly's extremely bearish. Monthly's bearish. All higher time frames are bearish. It's the lower time frames that looks like they want to bounce up a little bit. So yeah, I'd say if it does want to bounce up, maybe like 1150 to 1200 satoshis, and then we'll reassess from there. But again, if you've done your research into Cardano, don't listen to my opinion about its fundamentals. I don't have an opinion about its fundamentals. I'm not qualified to speak on such things. I spent my life's energy learning technical analysis, not fundamental analysis. So go with someone who's done that. But what I can say is, as far as charts go, giving up more than 100% of your gains as soon as you get them is never fucking good. So, I mean, fair enough. That's really all I say. BNB getting the bounce that we spoke about yesterday, and yep, I do think that it continues a little bit more towards about probably like $23.50 over this hump right over here. It looks like everything's kind of recovering to me. Weekly holding above weekly support, so I do like that. Weekly Stokes going to still be coming down, so a little bit suspect there. I would be a little bit more lenient with it, but yeah, lower time frames want to come back up. Daily's bullish here. Daily wants to pop back up, like I said, about it. Actually, even like $23.70 to $24, I'd say. And at that point, we probably actually make a run at a new high. We do have some hidden bullish divergence here as well between this point and this point. So I'd say that kind of gives this thing a free ride back to this area. Okay, what else we got? Got Zcash over here. Definitely on the weaker side. Yeah, weekly's bad too. I mean, shit. I have no choice but to be bearish on something like this. As long as it's below $65, this one's mega bearish. Weekly Stokes just crossing down. We just got rejected from the 10 simple. I think this one comes back down to the prior lows. I'll be bearish on this one. B cash, certainly one of the stronger. Hey, taking a leg up towards. Oh wow, we did hit our 380 target yesterday. No, nice, not bad. And I do think that this one tries higher actually over time. Again, one of the stronger charts. Definitely one of the better charts. Next target's going to be about 420. Great number. Let me put in a. Do I already have these areas in? Yep, I do have them in. Well, this one's a little bit higher. Yeah, about what is this? Oh, sorry, it's about $400. I apologize, a little bit off there. $400. And if $400 does break, I'd be looking actually for a pretty powerful move over to $550. Bcash is one of the better charts. Again, not a fundamental statement, but as far as charts go, definitely one of the better ones for the alts. Tron Cash, still holding on to its lows, definitely on the weaker side. Daily Stokes and weekly Stokes still down. I mean, this is fucking brutal right here. I don't like being short in these areas though. The only way that I'd be short Tron is if we actually broke 2 cent. Until that happens, I would not short it, and I do think that it probably catches wind of the overall market strength and pops up here to like 2.7 cent. But this one is completely sideways. I don't have a strong opinion on it like I do the other ones. Let's go over to Mr. Neo. Neo, same sort of thing, actually really struggling here. Weekly, weekly makes it hard to be bearish because we did hit the bearish target, so I'd be looking for a bounce, maybe bounce back up to 12 and a quarter, but lower time frames don't look like they want to do that actually. This looks nasty here. I would get mega bearish on Neo if we broke back down below $8.50, but you can see I don't have a strong opinion on it. This one's kind of like Tron. I don't have a strong opinion on it. It's certainly on the weaker side though. EOS Cash certainly on the stronger side, I'd say. We do see that. You have a nice horizontal support right here, which we're probably trying to base off of. And I do think that this one tries higher back towards 561 and then probably 590-ish area. What else do we want to look at? The euro dollar. Euro dollar working higher, just like we spoke about last week, towards a 12.5 cent, or sorry, one 12.5 cent target. And I do think that this one does try higher over time towards like 113, somewhere right around here. But longer term, a little bit more bearish. But do you think that it works its way up towards 113, and then we'll kind of reassess from there. Ripple Me Nipples Cash, yep, working its way up. We're getting that 33 cent target hit, and I do think that this one does try higher towards 33.5 cent, and probably at some point, 35 cent actually. Again, this is why I don't like being short in this area. Yes, it looks bearish, but we've seen this happen a million fucking times, and like to continue on a little bit more here, I'd imagine. Monero Cash, ooh, very strong alt actually, very, very strong. This one almost hit the $88 target. My next target's about $88 over here. Sorry, $87.50, which I do think that it does hit. Daily looks fine. Looks like we've actually come back and retested broken resistance as supports already, and I do think that this one does try it. I mean, the only way that I get bearish on this one is if we actually just take below $72. If we take below $72, then I'd be looking for a move back down to $66. But I think what's more likely is that we actually do move up higher here. What about dollar versus wait, what the fuck's this? Dollar versus Tether. Okay, that looks organic. Put some water on that price action. Looking good to me. Yeah, this looks normal. It was at $1,000 for a second. That's great. But right now it's pretty much back at parity, trading at 99.62. So again, the overall market's kind of coming back into what's it called, equilibrium with each other. Like Finex doesn't really have an insane premium. It's literally trading pretty much on par with spot. So yeah, back on to Mr. Bitcoin. Let's start to wrap this bitch up. And overall, lower time frames, I would say I'd probably be looking for a move back up, test maybe 7,300, 7,400, somewhere in this region here. Lower time frames, looking for that to pop back up there. Higher time frames, I'm not necessarily convinced that we're going to be making higher highs from this area just yet, but I do think that we test in this area, 7,350 to 7,400, and then overall, at some point this week, I would really like to see a comeback down to test about 6,600, 6,650. That's what I'd be looking to be a little bit more of a buyer for a nice bounce, other than that, I don't have too much else to say, actually. The next big things for me, like I said, are going to be the 3-day little time frame. Where do we close on this guy? Do we close above or below the 200 simple? If we close above the 200 simple, I'm long, looking for a move to about 8,000. If we close below, then probably that's the time where I can actually time a short down to, the mid to low 6,000s. 6650 would be first target, then maybe like 60 400 second target, and then we'll kind of reassess from there. But overall, that's essentially what I'm thinking right now. Week has been kind of set up, and we are. I feel like we're in for a treat this week, actually, with the way that Bitcoin's been acting. Anyways, with that said, been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. I'll be back on later with some more video analysis, live stream analysis. One of the last ones in Helsinki before I move tomorrow, and get my full setup back once again, camera and microphone in hand. So really excited about that. Anyways, as always, want to be wishing you a happy and healthy start to your week, and take care. See you soon.